Poland, and 13 things that drive me crazy in Poland. Now, it's not my list. I know I'm saying this, but this is the video that we're reacting to, which, by the way, I have a whole playlist of all the Polish videos that I react to down in the description below. So if you want to check it out and react to me reacting to everything, consider subscribing and checking out that playlist. And also support Wes for reacting to him. Link to his original channel below. Long ass intro. Let's get into it.
Man, I'm a little nervous to put this out. It's going to be quite controversial. If you guys have been watching my content for a while, you know that I love this country. However, now that I'm almost an honorary Pole, that means I got some things to complain about.
What? Smiles in Polish?
However, now that I'm almost an honorary Pole, that means I got some things.
Do you guys really smile like that? Just kidding. No, we love Wes. We love Wes. This video is like, I think a couple months old now. So but yeah, it's really cool
to complain about. I've left some of the more controversial ones towards the end. Before you go in the comments and type, "Get out of my effing country, you Chinese person," make sure to watch the whole video before.
You should still do that anyway. I'm just kidding. No, don't do that. Ooh, that's so funny.
Sharing your thoughts, which brings me to my first point, the fact that Poles have to argue about everything and are always complaining. I don't understand why we can't just chill. It feels like when you hang out with Polish people, for some reason,
Polish people online, I will argue with you about anything. Is that true? I mean, actually, no. A lot of you said that you guys like not arguing, but discussing is what the phrasing was. I don't know. I guess, you know, I come from like Mexicans. We just chill. You know what I mean? We just sit back and just chill. You know, buddy, want to chill, huh? You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. So I don't know. But I would have to see the vibe. I would have to see what it's like in real life, like in real. Because like obviously everything is just feels like it seems more dramatic when other people are telling you, you know. But I don't think it's that bad.
It evolves into arguments about politics or religion or about anything, right? And I even get this in my comments. Sometimes I'll make a comment like, "Ooh, water's wet." And then people in the comments will be like, "What do you mean water's wet?" I do understand.
No, y'all not like that, please. Yeah, y'all been nice on my comments. I don't know. Maybe it's because, you know, I haven't got to this. My channel's not the size of his yet. But y'all guys in my comments are pretty reasonable, I would say. I still get hate comments regardless, but that's always like the way I see hate comments as a smaller channel that has no emotion. I still get hate comments, and so the way I see those comments are, I would have got them regardless of what videos I made. They're gonna exist no matter what. And even then, I don't see arguing as hate comments. I see that as a discussion. I actually like discussions and like conversations in my comments between me, someone else, two other people between each other. I'm fine with that, and I think that's great. So I don't really see it as a bad thing, even if it's something that disagrees with me.
And that Polish people complain out of a place of love, though, right? I think that's very similar to the Asian way of thinking. They've had their land taken away from them so many times. Every time they've had to rebuild it, they're always trying to find the best solution. And honestly, that's something that I can respect. If you take a look at other content creators talking about Poland, they only say really positive things because I think they fear the backlash that will come from any small form of criticism. There's this weird double standard where Polish people will complain about their country, but as soon as a foreigner does it, then everybody gets super mad and then they attack the foreigner, even though some of the criticisms may be valid. A really good example of this is the graffiti.
I would say, at least in my experience so far, I think it all, because like obviously I've not really critiqued it. I guess I haven't really critiqued anything because I have no context to yet. But one of the things that I have done is like question the validity of something. So for example, in the last video I reacted to, I talked about the historical museums, right? And like are they like the real things that the people had when they were there? And like a lot of museums will advertise that. I myself am very skeptical, just going to be honest, of that when museums say that, because a lot of times it's not true. Whereas like in the US, there are very specific museums that are like, these are the actual things that they used. You do not touch them. You know what I mean? So, because there's just a different attitude with a museum that actually has those things and a museum that doesn't. So like, that's why I, like in that video, I was like, is it really though? Is it really? So I think it just depends on where I guess for me at least is coming from a context of, well, I don't know, so I'm asking a question. But I guess I haven't really seen really harsh content creators outside of that guy that was like trying to do sex tourism. That guy wasn't even criticizing; he was just kind of hating, you know. But maybe there's some videos in the description. Like, you guys gotta let me know. Maybe there's some channels that you want me to check out that really aren't the best representation of criticism. So maybe I can check those out and we can react. But no, I think overall you guys have been great. And um, but I also know that I'm coming from like a different place than most people when it comes to for questions and answers and all that stuff.
I know a lot of people share my sentiment when I say graffiti makes a country and a city look.
Oh, disgusting. As somebody who lives in Seattle, a very popular city, I'm gonna be honest. It's not aesthetic. It's gross. It's ghetto. It's just it kind of like it's tacky. It shows a like I don't want to like shit on it too hard, but the reality is it shows low IQ, low education, low everything. Like it shows no value in that neighborhood.
Look cheaper. Now, there's a difference between graffiti.
He's being nice, but I absolutely hate graffiti. I'm just gonna be honest. As someone who came from a poor neighborhood that had graffiti, and I had no control over it because I was just living there. I wish I didn't have it because it would have brought more value to my community.
And street art, because here in Poland there are many great
Dude, that's so cool.
examples of beautiful street art. It's a shame because Poland is such a beautiful country with beautiful architecture, a lot of amazing things to see, but just pointless tagging with random words.
Yeah, like, and I think it's gonna sound crazy, but I think there's a lot of the world that's like really like fascinated with like American gang and like underground crime. And so they try to replicate it overseas on the scale that we have it, which isn't a good thing. Just gonna say it's not good that the US has these issues, right? But um I just think like if you have the choice between having a night like this and this, what would you choose? What would you choose? Um yeah, I just don't see it. Look, I'm not trying to rant about graffiti, but I'm just letting y'all know where I stand on that.
With beautiful architecture, a lot of amazing things to see, but just pointless tagging with random words or initials.
Especially if you have a lot of historical buildings, as we learned that Poland does. Why would you tag it? That's just crazy. Now I understand like there's historical significance to like because of war and like the communication between tagging or like markings on the walls and you know there's this is historical context to graffiti when it comes to war and countries that are coming and going and stuff like that. I understand that. But I'm not going to believe every single piece of graffiti on the wall is like ref, referencing that. Let's like, you know what I mean? Like this they're selling, food here. Why would what is the graffiti adding to that? The historical context. Like, you know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. It's like if it's different when there's historical context to it and it's different when it's not. So
or stuff like that. I just think it hurts the overall image of Poland. Another thing that annoys me about Poland are the bad drivers. Every time I get into a bolt, half of the time I feel like I'm fighting for my life. I'm holding onto the seats, clutching at everything.
I will say this. I'm learning more and more as I'm watching more videos about even other countries. Good driving feels like it's a very American thing. It sounds crazy to say, but it's funny because even over here we have terrible drivers. But if you're expecting really good drivers, I find it really like you shouldn't have expectations of finding good drivers overseas. Now, maybe you Polish people are like, no, we're great drivers. I'm like, well, have you ever driven in the US? It's very different. But also like I think people need to understand as an American, we have the advantage that most people have cars. Most people use them to drive every day. Everyone's moving and grooving every which way all the time. So it's much easier to get better at it. Whereas other countries have better public transportation. We don't have good public transportation. And even then our country's huge. So even if we had good public transportation, it can only take us so far because you can't really, it's a huge country. And so it's like, it's expected that I'm not going to be surprised wherever I go. Which sucks because I really like driving, and I think that's the one thing, regardless if I ever move to any other country. If I move to any other country, that is probably the first thing that's gonna suck that I have to give up is driving, because I really like driving.
I feel like it's so common seeing my Bolt drivers get angry or get a bunch of road rage and complain about other drivers. One of the biggest things I have an issue with, and I think we can all agree upon this, is the weather. When I was here during the winter, I was suffering from seasonal depression. The cold weather didn't bug me that much. It was more the cloudiness. Now I know what to expect, so I think it'll be a lot easier to.
I live in Seattle. It's cloudy all the time, pretty much every day. I think it's like 6 months out of the year. No, 9 months out of the year. It's pretty cold and rainy, or not cold and rainy, but just cloudy and rainy. Um, it's like it's a certain mindset. You got to really train your brain to deal with it.
Handle. Kraków specifically, they haven't found a better way to heat all the homes without causing all this air pollution. On the one hand, you have winter, which I love the cold, but it's a little miserable because it's cloudy and you have a lot of air pollution. The summer is
Is it okay? So this is probably my first question. Is that actually true that you guys get a lot of air pollution during the winter? Because I really love the winter months. I'm a huge Christmas guy. I love the aesthetic. I love the atmosphere, the cuddly weather, right? I just find it really cozy. But as somebody who lives in Washington, Washington has some of the cleanest air in the world because we have so many trees everywhere. Depending where you live. But I really like clean air. So, um I never take that for granted for sure. So it's just that's a huge turnoff, I guess. If it's air pollution that bad. But again, I don't know.
a lot better because a lot of buildings here in Poland don't have AC. And this summer, for some reason, was one of the worst summers on record. I swear it's been 30 degrees for the last 4 months and I'm freaking sick of it. But if AC was a lot more accessible here, I think the summer would have been a lot more enjoyable. They have a saying here that the weather changes just like the moods of Polish women, and that's why we love them. Another thing that is very difficult, and
what does that even mean? What does that mean?
this is definitely my fault as a foreigner, but the language is still very, very difficult. Bruh. I get a lot of people in the comments telling me that I have to learn Polish, but it's so difficult for me for some reason. I've learned Spanish in the past, and that was quite easy to pick up. When I'm trying to get better at my Mandarin, obviously I grew up with it, so it was quite easy for me. But for some reason, Polish, every time I look at it, with all of the words and the sounds that you make with your mouth, it's just so difficult. Not only is it hard to say, you also have one of the most complex grammar structures ever. So it almost seems...
Yeah, I've been trying to learn Polish. It's very hard. I can attest to that. Which I've thought about making like Patreon videos and just putting them all in there where I'm learning. So, but it's not going to be some like polished, super edited thing. It's just going to be me there sitting there, really grinding it out, and you guys really getting to see what it takes to learn from an outsider's perspective.
Seems to me that Polish people made their language so complex on purpose so that other people could not infiltrate their country. Maybe it's just like a conspiracy or something, but that's something that I've definitely thought about.
I mean, it's not, it wouldn't be surprising. I mean, I don't think that's what the reasoning is, but there is the example of during World War II, Americans used native tribes to communicate very important messages through between military personnel, very important military orders, because our enemies could not, they don't have our native tribes, and so they couldn't crack the code of what they were saying. So I'm just saying, like, it's historically there is context for that reason, but I mean Poland, I don't think y'all did that for that reason. Maybe y'all did, I don't know.
Definitely gonna put the effort into it. I just had to organize a few things before I made those videos. Those are gonna be coming out next month, so stay tuned for that. Another pet peeve that I have is the fact that people here smoke a lot. I hear that it's definitely changing. It was a lot worse back in the day. A lot of the younger generation tend not to smoke, even though there's still a big population.
I want to put context behind this. I feel like a lot of the world was smoking and vaping, especially during the pandemic, which is like, feels like the one thing you don't want to do with like a respiratory virus. But I also think like I'm not a fan of smoking. I'm not a fan of being like, I don't like smoking myself, and I think it's gross. But I'm not like it's not the end of the world if I'm around it, to be honest. Um, I just don't like the way it makes my clothes smell, and like I wouldn't want that in my home. Like I want my home to smell like candles, clean. You know what I mean? Like it's just I have a very specific taste, I guess.
that does. And to me, it's just kind of annoying walking around everywhere and smelling cigarette smoke, especially when people are smoking
Your breakfast, cigarette, and coffee.
in the apartments, and then the whole entire hallway all of a sudden smells like cigarette. And something that I found quite funny, that if you go into a Jabka or anything, there are specific energy drinks that you can't buy unless you're over a certain age. So if you buy the energy drinks, they'll card you. But if you buy cigarettes or alcohol, they won't.
What? Nah, this is not true. Hey, someone, nah, 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 nah. Yeah, I gotta let. Okay, if y'all watch, y'all know the drill. All right, there's usually one of these questions in every single video that I do. If there's any question I need answered, it's probably this one. Okay, you can put the timestamp so I know exactly what you're talking about. And just to let y'all know, if I don't reply to every single comment, if I drop a like and a heart, that means that I read it. It's just if I go, it's just sometimes I don't know what to say back, so I just be like, all right, yeah, I read it. But yeah, this one seems kind of crazy. Maybe I need to see it. Maybe it's like it's definitely true, and I just need to see it for myself. But let me know in the comments. This is definitely one I need to know. This is crazy if true.
Another big issue for Poland, and I think a lot of foreigners are going to feel this, is that it is very difficult for people to make local friends. Thankfully, I've been here for almost a year, and I've been able to make friends with a lot of people in my building, the administration of my building.
I will say this though. I live in Seattle, which we have what's called the Seattle freeze. I brought this up in another video. I actually want to challenge you, my Polish viewers, to look up the Seattle freeze. I think I reacted to it. Did I react to it? No, you know what? I need to react to a video about the Seattle freeze. I feel like I did. If not, we will. The Seattle freeze. Look it up. It's not a weather thing. It's a social thing. We deal with that. So I feel like as somebody who lives in Washington and deals with that, I feel like I can. I don't think it'll be as extreme as that. If that's making sense, I think actually Poland would be much easier for me to make friends.
And because of my YouTube channel, I'm quite well known here, so people have approached me. I understand it's one thing to be closed off to people you don't know, but also maybe it's just the American inside of me. Poland has so many great things to offer, but if people come to this country and don't feel welcome, I think it can definitely sour their experience. Polish hospitality is some of the best in the world, and it's a shame that not a lot of people will get to experience it because they don't know how to make the first move.
And I think that's one of the reasons why like I'm going through my journey of learning about Poland as much as I can. Not just from his perspective, but others' perspectives, your perspective. Because I want to be able to experience a real Polish experience, if that makes sense. Uh and not be like super intrusive about it. Because that's the tough thing about that's the hard thing. Like how do you ask without being like rude, I guess, as a bad guest. I want to be a good guest.
To making Polish friends. Another issue that I've seen is just the bureaucracy here in Poland is super bad. When you're trying to get anything done here, if you go to different lawyer agencies or government agencies, the information is never clear. People will always tell you different things. If you're trying to submit paperwork for a visa, it can take a couple months, it could take a couple weeks, it could take years, right? There's no real consistency with it. Poland is an advancing country in so many ways. If you go to Warsaw,
But there's a conspiracy theory here. Okay, all right. I seen or not seen. I've heard multiple issues or this same issue from multiple countries. My thinking is a lot of countries don't want Americans right now. At the time of this recording of this video, this is like maybe 4 or 5 months. I think 4 months, 3 months, around there, 3 to 5 months, right? There was a lot of countries that just didn't want Americans, um, because well, now granted he's been there for a year, so I don't know. I just know that there was a good chunk of time where a lot of countries just didn't want Americans because of all the influencers going around causing problems. Like your Jolly Somalis, all these people going around causing troubles around the world. And I think there's a conspiracy right now that was happening because of all the people ruining it for everybody. Um, I'm just saying that it just happened to line up with what he's saying right now, but also it could just be that the infrastructure is just not good. Which, hey, I mean, most countries don't really have good visa systems, really.
They're building quite rapidly, and it's a very modern city, but I feel like a lot of the technical infrastructure is lacking. Poland is known for being one of the biggest producers of tech talent in the world, but I think because of
Tech talent, game developers, music producers, y'all are some of the most creative people to ever exist. Especially now. This is one of the reasons why I want to go there, see the country, experience the culture, see what inspires you guys, because y'all guys are you men and women of Poland are so creative. Some of the most creative people that I've seen like artists and developers make games that are based on America and somehow get really, really close to the American experience. Granted, it would obviously make more sense of an American, yeah, if they were American, they would really understand it more, but they get really, really close. So much so that they are doing it better than Americans, which is crazy, right? And so I just think like there's something to it. There's got to be something to it. Y'all are just very talented, and also y'all are very intelligent. Some of the smartest people in the world.
the way the country is set up, all these people work for outside countries. So
Yeah.
it's always been an enigma to me that there's so much tech talent here, but the government doesn't seem to be reinvesting in their tech systems to make things a lot more advanced. Okay, so let's talk about a controversial one.
I think it's just so expensive to do it without outside investment. That's all I gotta say. But I do know the government because I have experience in the game industry. Um, Government is investing in game development. I've seen it firsthand.
Something I've noticed about Polish people is that you guys have this national self-pity. You have this huge chip on your shoulder because of all the things that have been done to you guys in the past throughout history, and I totally get that. And I believe that Polish people should be super proud of their accomplishments and everything that they've done. All of their famous people have been intellectuals and artists.
And that's another thing too. Like, yeah, y'all have such a good variety of talented historical figures. Like, um, it's pretty cool.
Music culture here is extremely deep. There's like this overall vibe that Polish people are just always feeling sorry about themselves because of everything that happened in history. Something that I really admire about my American culture, we have this really big optimism about the future and the world. I think that optimistic mentality is important for growth and innovation and pushing the country forward. And I think maybe this negative mentality of being like, oh, woe is me, or not being optimistic, if anything, being a little more pessimistic, is maybe holding the Polish people back.
I can't vouch for this because I don't know if I haven't seen it. I haven't been there. But I have seen, just even in people, if too many people are self-loathing and like have self-pity, it will hold them back. It's just a fact, right? Now, is it as dramatic? No. But I do think like over time, I think people will become more hopeful. Now, to be fair, America has we have um this hope for the future always. We always hopeful for the future, and that's what makes us really competitive and innovative. Much quicker than any other country, really. But the problem with that though is that you get the extreme where like we're so hopeful and excited for the future that we become extremely competitive with ourselves, because that's how you get the best people to like, you know what I mean? If you're constantly competing within your own country, the best will rise. Or that's in theory. Sometimes that's not always true. But you would have, you produce some of the smartest people, stuff like that. But it's constantly stressful. It's constantly you're always like just there's always a burden, you always have a headache all the time. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to describe it. Like, there's a lot of pros to it. You get a lot of good results, but you're always stressed. Everything's moving fast. Everything's always competitive. Like, you got to really be about it, because if not, you're gonna get left behind. Whereas, like, I feel like if you're on the other end of the spectrum, you can get comfortable, which is fine, but you also won't. It's hard to innovate. But I think over time, I don't see this. I see it. I can see it as a negative, but I wouldn't worry, because over time that changes. Um, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. But obviously, everybody can improve on their own, a little bit, little by little, every day, right?
I know that's going to be a controversial one. I would love to hear your thoughts down below, but it's kind of a
But like again, let me know if you agree. I wouldn't know because I hadn't been there, so I don't know what the country's like. But I can see that being true because I've seen it true in just people I know and people I've known. So, uh, yeah.
paradox, because yes, there's this national self-pity, and yes, Polish people argue amongst themselves, but as soon as they hear any form of outside criticism, it's like the Polish army attacks and they go after that person, regardless if the criticism was good or not.
I will look for you. I will find you. And I will kill you.
Oh, kurwa. So this is actually an observation that I've made about other people making content here in Poland. Reaction videos about Polish culture and content and music are doing extremely well right now. But when I see other creators talk about Poland, it's only positive.
I don't know. I guess I haven't really. We saw the passport bro who was really talking shit about Poland, but it was kind of like, which by the way, his channel doesn't exist anymore. I tried to react to some of his other videos, but hey, it is what it is. I just but that was like the real example of people shitting on Poland that I found, but there was no real criticism. There was no real context because the individual was there for the wrong reasons. He was there for sex tourism, right? And I don't think that's a valid if you don't get what you want through sex tourism, then you shouldn't be criticizing the country. Like, that's weird. But I think as we're covering more of Poland, I'm sure I'm going to be coming across more criticisms. But again, I think it's just how you frame it, right? Like, I know Wes lives there, and so I'm going to take what he says with a grain of salt, one, because I haven't been there, but also, like, I want to see it like, okay, can I see it in the context of what's going on in my country, right? Is this just their issue? Because sometimes, like, you need to understand when criticizing a country, you need to also see, like, yes, they might have this issue, but it might be like a global issue, or it might be like a young person issue. It might be an old person issue. Like, is it really just a Polish issue, or is it like a bigger societal, global issue that just happens to be more pertinent in a specific country, right? Because let's talk about like negativity, like self-pity, right? They're not the only country that deals with this. If that is true, right? If that is true, you guys wouldn't be the only country dealing with it. But at the same time, even if it is, over time that changes. So it just takes time for that to change. So it's like it's a critique, but at the same time, it's like it's not like the end of the world, if that makes sense. And I guess I would need more examples of what he means by this, but I'm just trying to put that out there that there's ways of going about it and phrasing it, if that makes sense, and not blowing it up to be more of a big deal, because it's gonna change over time. Like, I think this video is fantastic, at least as an outsider's perspective, because he's very polite, he's very down to earth, and he's speaking from his experience as well.
Comments. I think people are a little afraid to say anything negative about Poland. Maybe it's because they don't want to get any hate from people. Maybe it's because they just want to do it for the views. But even me, I'm quite open about all my pros and cons about everywhere that I go, and I get a lot of hate for it, but that's just how it is. I believe it's better to tell the truth than to just sugarcoat anything. But even sometimes,
And I also think, like, the way I see things is you were gonna get hate no matter what. Now, if I go around doing like that one passport bro did and just like really making a video about hating the women of Poland, that would be different, right? But if you're just trying to speak your truth, I think most people in Poland are rational and will see what you mean, right? And give you the benefit of the doubt of like, oh yeah, no, I can see what you're saying, or maybe you just need more context. Like, sometimes that could just be it. It's like, I see you might be wrong, but it's only because you're not really seeing the full context, right? Or something like that. There's just better ways to approach the discussion, I think.
when I'm writing a script or filming a video, I'll be hesitant to give a valid con about a place because I know that Polish people can be a little sensitive about people criticizing their culture and their home and everything. As someone who really loves this country and wants to see it progress into the future, I would like to be able to give my opinion as an outsider, but it's hard to talk about these things if the Polish people are a little closed off to hearing outside criticism. Polish people are definitely entitled to their own opinion. It's their country. I'm just here as a guest. But as someone who really loves this country so much, I would love to be able to give my honest input without the fear of receiving a bunch of hate comments. But you know, that's just kind of how the internet is. So maybe that's just wishful thinking.
I like, again, I just think it's going to change over time. This is a terrible place to pause. I'm sorry, Wes. No, I think you guys have been very receptive. Like the last video I talked about tourist spots. I guess I was like, now that I'm thinking about it, like I kind of pointed out like, oh, this city just seems very like touristy, prices are going to be too high. Like it would technically, if you looked at what I said, technically it could be a critique, but I didn't phrase it in the sense that I knew it was because I didn't know. I was just saying, if this is like the cities that we have in the US, I'm not going to like it. And it was funny because one of you pointed it out in the comments, like, yes, it's actually like that. You probably won't like it. You would actually like this better. So you see what I'm saying? Like you guys have shown to be much more receptive to like outside perspectives. And I think Wes is, he's obviously a bigger creator. So he sees it, you guys, what you guys have to say more often than I do. But I also think like we as creators can do a better job of like phrasing. And I think he does a good job too.
Experience with customer service has been very mixed. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's absolutely horrendous.
Yeah, because kurwa, he say kurwa, you need some kurwa receipt or kurwa code.
Now, something I do appreciate is
I
that
have
you
no
don't
idea.
have to tip the waiters here. So because of that, I guess you're not getting the best service. But I would say my worst experiences have been talking to people that work in public transportation or at banks. Some of those, I guess, service jobs where I feel like I'm trying to get some help. I'm trying to be polite, but people are just dismissing me or they see me as a foreigner and they're not really willing to help me. It's just very hard to get the correct answer or exactly what I'm looking for. One of my biggest
And I think that could just be like, I'll be honest, American customer service is dog shit. Ever since our wages didn't meet the inflation, everyone's kind of just given up on caring about customer service, which is fair. I think it's valid. But I do think there's like, this one might be like specifically towards foreigners. Unless, like, this might be an issue that would be pertinent to me and Wes, for example. But I want to ask, is customer service good for Polish people between Polish and Polish, right? What is that actually like? So something to think about.
Complaints is the public transportation system here is really good and really bad at the same time. So within the city, the tram system is actually very good. Here in Kraków, I've had zero complaints. One of my big issues is between cross-city travels. Specifically, some of the train stations need to be updated. There's this one station in Warsaw where the board with the arrivals and the departures only has like 6 options. So if you want to know which station to be at, you have to be there waiting. They'll let you know like 3 to 5 minutes before you need to get on that platform. So people are running all over the place trying to catch their train because it's so unclear. Yes, there are a bunch of like timetables on the wall that you can read, but I'm like, yo, we're in 2024. This has happened to me so many times already. I think it's on one platform and then last minute it's either delayed or it's supposed to be on another platform. So I have to go down the stairs, run to another platform, go to the train. Sometimes I barely made my trains. It's very confusing and I think it should be a little more transparent.
I wonder. Yeah, that's actually kind of crazy if you think about it. Budget cuts? I don't know. That's actually kind of wild because I was just talking about public transportation for you guys earlier in the video. Yeah, I don't know. That's actually, yeah, guys, come on. Now, again, this is like 4 months old, 3-4 months old. Maybe y'all guys actually fix that, but that's something that can be fixed. Come on. Y'all know better. Or maybe just no one wants to invest money into the train station because maybe you guys actually hate it too. Who knows? But yeah, come on, man. Come on. Let's just fix it together.
with how they show like exactly what trains go where. So this is something that I've gotten used to, but I know this bugs a lot of people. Everything is closed here on Sundays. Yes, the restaurants are open. The grocery stores are closed. The mall is closed. It's very, very inconvenient. And I guess maybe it's just my American capitalist brain saying like,
Well, I grew up in the South and in Mexico, right? And everything was closed on Sundays, and I actually liked that. The only thing I didn't like that was closed on Sundays was Chick-fil-A. I'll be honest. It's like the one day I want Chick-fil-A. But no, I spent a lot of my life used to that. Even when I lived in Mexico, we just go to church and do nothing after that. Spend time with family. So I actually kind of like that because believe it or not, this is just my experience. Closing everything down for one day actually slows down the pace of the whole country to like feel more like you feel like you can breathe. Um, and I say that because in America, everything is like constant, 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 7 days a week. Go, 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 move, 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 move. And it's brutal. It's exhausting. And I kind of want to go back to if I could, I would choose everything being closed on Sundays because it just allows you to breathe.
why aren't things open on Sunday? I've heard like 50-50 responses from the locals about this. Some people like that it's a day to rest. Some people find it quite annoying. But this is a question I bring to you guys. You think it's a good thing or a bad thing? I wish there were more late night food options available. Maybe in Warsaw, there are a lot more. If you are a night person like me, you want to get something to eat really late at night, it's actually quite difficult to find. And I mean like legit late night options, not just kebab. I want to get some good Polish food late at night. Maybe it's just wishful thinking, maybe it's just a difference in culture. But when I was in Vietnam, being able
I think I'm gonna hate that too, to be honest. Not being able to get I need to stop eating late at night, but I'm a nocturnal animal. I've been recording these videos in the mornings, as you could tell by me just waking up. Because I'm trying to do my best to wake up early, and this is like the way for me to do that. It's like, oh, I gotta wake up early so I can record, rather than staying up late at night to record, right? Um, yeah, I don't know, because I gotta record either after work or before work, so I gotta find the time, like, and if I do it at night, I'm gonna get those munchies.
to get pho or a hot meal at 1 in the morning was literally the most amazing thing, and I wish that Poland had that as well. I know a lot of Polish women complain that Polish men don't really dress well. To be fair, I don't think there are a lot of really good options. If you go to places in Western Europe, there are a lot more brands to choose from, whereas here in all of Poland, when I go to the malls, it's always the same companies. I wish there was a little more variety in the clothing options, because I think if fashion was a little bigger here in Poland, the men would be, I guess, better inclined to want to dress better, for example, like the Italians. But I'm someone who really
Hey, I'll say this. I was watching a video. We're covering the Philippines on this channel too. We're watching quite a few videos. All of them. Everyone's so stylish and like it's incredible. I even mentioned it in a couple of the videos. Like, dang, everyone's so stylish. Like, you know what I mean? So I think it's not. There's a lot of countries that don't have style, and there's a lot of countries that do. So, um, yeah, I'm not gonna pretend like I have style. Yeah, I'm just not gonna pretend.
really loves fashion and I follow it heavily, so maybe that's just a personal opinion. Please don't kill me. Expecto Patronum.
Great video, Wes. We love him. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Is a lot of this true? If so, what do you think about all of it? Love you guys. Check out the next one. Bye-bye. This video is brought to you actually by viewers like you. Thank you so much for subscribing and being part of my journey and allowing me to be a part of yours. Let's create new memories this 2025 on our road to 1 million subscribers. And with all that jazz out of the way, I just want to say thank you so much. I love y'all and enjoy the video.